What's up everyone, dannylightning back with another microphone review. We got the Maono PD200X microphone. This is a brand new mic from Maono. I got an email from the other day. They said, hey, would you like to try out our new microphone? And I said yes. We are going to be doing some sound tests. We're going to check out how it performs in some different situations. We'll also be comparing this to a couple of other microphones. We will see how this sounds compared to the legendary Shure SM7B and Maono's other microphone, the PD400X, which is a little bit more expensive. You know, towards the end of this video, I might even do a bonus test where I compare this to my Lewitt 440 pure condenser microphone. As far as the price goes, this microphone will run you right about $80. In the box, you get an adapter just in case it doesn't fit on the threading for your microphone stand. You get an USB cable and you get the microphone. It does not come with an XLR cable. This microphone can be ran off of XLR or USB. Currently, we're running on an XLR and we will switch to USB a little bit later. I am not going to do any kind of audio editing for this video. That way you get to hear exactly what the microphone sounds like with no changes. The only thing I might do is boost the volume to make sure it's at the correct loudness for YouTube. And this is the frequency response of the microphone right here. It's got a little bit of a high shelf and it's got a bass roll off to get rid of some of those unwanted low sounds like room rumbling or anything like that. So that is the frequency response according to the user manual. Now, as far as build quality goes, the shock mount seems a little cheap and a little bit flimsy, but everything else about the microphone seems really nicely built. I mean, overall, the quality seems great. The first thing we're going to do is test the proximity effect. So right now we are about, 8-10 inches away from the microphone. Let's get a little closer. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. And we're going to get a little bit closer. Now we should be hearing a little bit more bass. Let's get right up on this thing and do our best Johnny Cash. Hey, I'm Johnny Cash. We got the proximity effect in full effect. It should be a lot more bassy when we get really close to it. And when we get further away, of course, more high pitch. So this microphone does seem to have a very strong proximity effect. From what I just heard, you can definitely get the nice radio broadcast sound, that nice bassy, deep, warm sound out of this thing. So some of you guys are really going to like that feature. Next, we're going to test for the Pulsive and Sibilance. Peter Piper picked a pack of peppers. 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 So you can see if the microphone's making those popping sounds when the air goes into it. So the Pulsive test is very good, even when we're talking directly into it and the air is directly hitting the microphone. When we say those P's and that poof comes out, that is pretty impressive. All right, so next is the sibilance test to see if there's a bunch of harsh like sh 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 and ch 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 sounds. So Sally sells seashells down by the seashore. Sally sells seashells down by the seashore. Now in my headphones, it sounds very sibilant. I thought this microphone was going to have a sibilance problem, but when I listened back to the recording, it's really not that bad. The pulse rejection is good. The sibilance is pretty good. I mean, sounds great so far. Let me go ahead and start typing on my keyboard. Let's see if it picks up the keys on my mechanical keyboard. So here we go. That way you can hear when you're typing and talking at the same time what kind of noise will be picked up. Now we're going to do a tap test. I'm going to start beating my mouse on the desk a little bit, then tapping on the microphone stand to see if any of that rumbling resonance comes back into the microphone. So let's go ahead and start with the mouse. I'll tap my fingers on the desk. I'm going to start tapping on the microphone boom arm. We'll tap the shock mount and we'll tap the microphone itself, and let's see how that worked. Very little of the resonance came back into the microphone. Now we're going to test the off-axis noise rejection. Hello, hello, hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Now we are at a 90-degree angle. Check, check, check. We're moving it around. Check, microphone, check, 1, 2. We are at 180 degrees. Microphone, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Microphone, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we are pointing this way. And microphone, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Microphone, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we got it straight in front of our face. It really did a great job at rejecting the sound when we were turning it around. So this microphone is basically picking up what's in front of you, not a whole lot to the sides or the rear, which is what you want, really. Here's a quick singing test. I woke up to the sound of pouring rain. The wind would whisper in a dream of you. All the tears you cry, they call my name. And the next part of that song, I cannot hit those high notes, so I'm going to stop right there. Now that we are hand holding the microphone, this will be a good test for the shock mount. So we're going to move it around a little bit, kind of like, I don't know, is it making any handling noise? Now, if I touch the microphone itself, it's probably going to, but if I keep it here on the shock mount and I move it around, you shouldn't really hear any handling noise if the shock mount's doing well. So, hey, how did that sound? Now, let's go ahead and test this without the little foam windscreen. And I'll tell you what, one thing I don't like is that just kind of pulls off. Do not pick up the microphone by the foam windscreen or you will lose your microphone, okay? So this is what it sounds like without the foam windscreen. Let's do a pulsive test again. Peter Piper picked a peck of peppers. 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 So I can definitely hear the pulsives are a lot worse without the windscreen. Some people may prefer the way it sounds without the windscreen, but this is how it sounds without the windscreen. So let's go ahead and compare this to the Shure SM7B. All right, Danny Lightning back, and now we are on the Shure SM7B. What do you guys think? What sounds better? Let me know in the comments, the Shure SM7B or the Maono PD200X. So we're going to talk on this for a second. Then we're going to go back to the Maono PD200X for a second. Then we'll move over to the Maono PD400X microphone. So again, this is the way the Shure SM7B sounds. Let me know what you think. So let's go back to the Maono PD200X and then swap over to the 400X. Now we are back on the Maono PD200X microphone. Now we are back on the Maono PD200X microphone. So let's go ahead and switch to the next microphone and see how it compares. So this is the Maono PD400X microphone with no editing whatsoever. There's no audio editing in this video. I want to make sure you get to hear how all these microphones sounds with no changes whatsoever. So this is the Maono PD400X. And what do you think? Does this sound better or worse than the 200X? Tell me in the comments. What do you guys like? What do you guys think? Let me know your opinions, guys. I think these are great sounding microphones overall. So let's go ahead and get back to the other one for just 1 second, and then we'll swap it over to the USB mode. Now we are back on the Maono PD200X microphone. Now we are back on the Maono PD200X microphone. Guys, for an $80 microphone, this is phenomenal. I'm really impressed with the way it sounds. It's very clean, very clear. It's got that nice bassy broadcast sound if you want it. If you get a little further away, it's just a very clean, clear sounding microphone. The pulses aren't too bad. The sibilance isn't bad. You cannot beat this for 80 bucks. Like I said, we're currently listening to this over the XLR connection, so we're going to go ahead and set this up on USB, get the Maono Link software rolling and all that good stuff. Okay, so now we have the microphone on USB, and if you notice, we have a neon effect going on. Unfortunately, you don't get that when it's plugged in with XLR, but on USB, you can change the colors. You got purple, you got blue, you got another blue, you got a green, a yellow, a orange, a red, and a white light. Now we're going to go ahead and change the EQ settings on the Maono Link software. We are currently on the flat EQ, where the bass and treble is flat all the way across. Now we have it flat with a bass cutoff, so it is cutting off some of the bass. This is the way it sounds with the bass roll-off or the high-pass filter engaged. Now we have it set for the presence boost, which should boost the high end a little bit. This is what it sounds like with the presence boost engaged. And finally, we have the last setting, which does have a bass roll-off and a presence boost at the same time. Now we are going to go ahead and test out the built-in compressor. Again, this stuff is only available on USB. Right now, the compressor is off, and let's go ahead and turn it on. This is the way it sounds like with the built-in compressor going on. And we're also going to set the built-in limiter to -2 decibels. So now we have a compressor, a limiter, and the flat EQ setting. There's not a whole lot of settings here, but you know, there's some pretty cool stuff. We can adjust the brightness of the RGB on the microphone. Of course, there's a knob on the top where you can adjust your gain. You also have a little button on the back, which can control the RGB lighting as well. So this is what the Maono Link software actually looks like. If you do hit the little gear on the top right, you can check for firmware updates. I haven't actually checked for that, so there may or may not be a firmware update available for this microphone once you get it, but these are the features we have right here. So let's test the proximity effect on USB. Now we're quite a ways away from it. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. And we're getting a little bit closer, a little bit closer. Now we're probably 2 to 3 inches away. And now we are Johnny Cash right up on top of that bad boy. Now we are Johnny Cash. I'm going to Jackson. I'm going to mess around. I'm going to Jackson. Watch out, Jackson Town. All right, so if you're going to get really close to the microphone on USB, make sure you adjust the gain because I notice it will start to distort. It's not doing that on XLR, but on USB, when I get close, it gets much, much louder and it does distort, even with the limiter on and with the compressor. Now, like I mentioned, Maono did send me this microphone for free to test out. They never asked me to do a review. They never said, hey, we need you to do this, we need you to do that. They just said, hey, do you want to test it? They sent it to me, and I'm giving you guys my 100% honest opinion on this thing. Now, I am really impressed. For an $80 microphone, it sounds amazing on XLR. It sounds really good on USB. You can't beat this thing for 80 bucks. I mean, seriously, I have not heard an inexpensive dynamic microphone sound this good, that looks this cool, that has this many features with such a low price point. I'm going to say this is probably one of the best dynamic mics you're going to find for under 100 bucks. I'm seriously impressed with this thing. Like, seriously impressed. This thing sounds good. All right, so we're going to switch back to XLR, which we're on right now, to give you one last listen before we wrap this up. But I think it has a lot better high end on XLR. On the USB, I think it gets a little more bassy. We lose some of the highs. It has a much cleaner, nicer sound, but it sounds really good either way. So the only drawback is you don't get the RGB lighting on XLR, but who cares? It sounds awesome. Now, I have 2 gaming channels, and when I do live streams on those channels, I normally use my Shure SM7B. I might actually switch from my Shure SM7B over to this. Let's go ahead and do a bonus test and compare this to my Lewitt 440 Pure condenser microphone. So one last sound test before we go. All right, so now we are in the Lewitt 440 Pure. I think this is around a $300 microphone. This has been my go-to lately for recording, and my Shure SM7B has been my live streaming microphone. So I'm going to be interested to see exactly how this microphone sounds compared to the Maono PD200X. So I just listened to the difference between the 2 microphones, and I am very, very, very impressed with this Maono. All right, so I think that's going to wrap this video up. This thing is just all around super nice. I love everything about it for the most part. I wish it had a little bit of a better shock mount. I wish this screwed on or, clamped on there a little bit better. The foam windscreen that just pulls right off. In some ways, it's nice that you can just easily pull it off, but I would like it to be a little more secure. That way, if that doesn't happen to you right there. But besides those couple of things, this is a awesome, awesome little microphone. I love it. I really do. I was not expecting to like this thing that much. This thing sounds great. This is a 100% real life honest review. This is my opinions. I am blown away by the sound quality of an $80 microphone. When I got this, I saw it was small. It's lightweight. I did not expect very much from it, but man, I am pleasantly surprised, and this thing rocks. All right, have an awesome day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. P.S. Don't forget to drop down this video's description so you can find some links to get one of these. If you buy one off the Amazon link, I'll get a small commission. I'll also post a link to Maono's website so you can buy one directly from them if you would like. But anyways, I love the microphone. It is awesome. It is amazing. Lightning out. See ya.